just for recording's sake.
Okay, so we had the recruitment of a star this week, which was all about Stephen Connor, the director of research at an investment banking firm, trying to hire a new guy because his one of his top analysts left. And yeah, he got a couple of people from one of his own contacts. Someone actually found him out, and then he also had the choice of keeping who he had temporarily put in for the position.
Just out of curiosity, let's take a quick vote. Who voted for who? Who thought? We'll just go through the list really quick. So we'll start with the lady who was already there, Rena. Who thought she should stay?
I actually completely forgot about her in my analysis, so I obviously did not think she should stay.
All right. Who thought
she's temporary? Just get her out.
Who thought that Hughes should stay? David Hughes.
David. Hold on, I can't remember the names.
He was so he was the guy who was older, who was well seasoned.
I picked him, and with the stipulation that he would be a mentor to Rena, and so when he retired, she would fill his place.
That's not a bad idea. Who said Sonia Mitha, the up-and-comer from the? She had the 2 kids, and she worked for the little boutique.
Yeah.
Nobody? Okay.
No, I don't think.
No.
Gerald Baum was the guy who was really negative. And
he's kind of a jerk.
Body. Yeah, he's a real jerk. What about Seth Horkham? The guy
That's the guy I picked.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the.
I picked him at first, and then I changed my mind.
I actually stayed with Rena. And if you want, I can tell you why, but we can continue that later. I'm sure that'll come up.
Actually, that's the first thing. We need to discuss the pros and cons of all the candidates. So we could start at the top and start with Rena, since she was the first
So technically, Rena was my last one because I kind of built up to the fact that I was keeping her.
Yeah, it is the same with me.
Okay, well, let's start with Gerald Baum then. He's the guy that's highly rated. Is he? Yeah, he is the jerk guy who seemed like he was only really in it for the money. So, I mean, he sounded like as an analyst, he was really good, but as a person, he wasn't so great.
Something really interesting and something that might have swayed his direction wasn't just that he was horrible to his underlings, but he was awesome with his clients. He had super high client loyalty, and that was a really big plus for him, but it really didn't overcome the rest of his negatives. He was
right.
You know, the fact that he bragged and laughed about the fact that he fired his last junior analyst in the middle of a client meeting, that kind of really threw everything for me.
Yeah, I think he would bring a low morale and high turnover rate to the organization.
Well, he has no concept of the team mentality that's there now.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not. He's really a no-go. He was forgotten. I don't even know why they put him in the choice list, because he really wasn't even a question for me.
One positive thing about him is that he was. I just take notes, and it says he maintains active travel schedules. So yeah, to add with what you have said, it is the only one positive thing I see about him.
Yeah. All right, who's next?
Well, no one voted for him, so he's out. Okay, David Hughes, highly ranked. He was kind of looking to get out of his old job to have a challenge, since he's kind of getting to his twilight years. However, a lot of the other people really liked him because he had that good name brand. Seemed like everyone he talked to into the company was just like, oh, we love that guy because, you know, we've heard of him and he talks well. He knows what he's doing. It seemed like, though, he's kind of like an old dog who didn't want to learn new tricks. That's something I kind of picked up. He wasn't really willing to learn new things. He just kind of, I don't really know how to do this. I'll just pass it to my underlings. They
Okay,
can work
so are any of you the youngest child in your family?
I'm the oldest, so
Okay, so you know
opposite.
how your mom like had her youngest kid and she kind of spoiled them because she's like, I'm just tired. Did your parents ever say that? Okay, that's how I see him. So I kind of listed everything you listed where he was really well known. He had a lot of things going for him, but I put I referenced his not being willing to cut his vacation short and expecting his clients simply to just accept that and fix it all after the fact. And I pretty much reached a point where I was like, while it's important to spend time with family to take a break, this field of employment and the expectations in this position insist upon utter dedication to the needs of the clientele. And he's disqualified because of that, because he's not willing to give that.
See, and I'm not sure I agree with that because I'm older. I've had a career, and when you don't put family up there, you don't do your job as well. Mm-hmm. And he's ranked second, even in his in his career that's winding down, he's still second on the list, which is fantastic. And so if he was still putting his job first, he could be first on the list, but being ranked second and still, I said,
you're right, except for when you look at the other documentation that they gave us, they showed that, and I think I referenced it in here. Yeah. Odds are the superstars you eagerly and expensively recruit will shine much less brightly for you than for their previous employers. Research shows why, and why you're usually better off growing stars than buying them. They continue to explain that data shows as a research analyst switches loyalties, their performance decreases by 20% and does not return within 5 years.
Because I also took where I read, and I didn't put this in my thing, that he might be motivated with new breath from a new position because he was getting bored with where he was at. So I don't know. Because he was ranked first 4 times, second 5 times, I just figured he would be a great mentor for Rena, who wasn't quite ready.
That's really not a bad idea. But
yeah.
I'm curious what Theodore and Yarley think.
Yeah, what I like about him, and I think it is totally different from Gerard, is that he's willing to train people, and as Kristen said, he could be a great mentor. He could mentor some junior analysts in the company, and probably he could. Okay, what I like about his mentor skill is that the company just had one star analyst, right? And he could be a trainee to new analysts. In order, they just don't have one star analyst. They could have some other analysts. Yeah.
So happened? New York, the only dilemma I have with that is this is not your normal career. We've come in on something that is it really should be, for the most part, people who are very dedicated to the career. And I mean, if their family is 100, if their lives are 100%, their career is 75%, their family is 25%. That's the type of career we're looking at here. And I get concerned with the idea of having him hired with the condition that he'll train, because then he's not working on this one very niche based responsibility he has. And I can understand that there's downtime with that, but he shouldn't be getting hired as a trainer when they need him as an analyst.
Yeah, I don't think he's the appropriate for the position, but I'm just saying that this is a good point about him. He's a strength about him. I'm sure he's not appropriate for the position.
Yeah, I mean, he is getting pretty close to getting out of there too. So if he's not able to train somebody in that time, then they've kind of wasted
Well,
the
but
potential of
he
having
also
him.
wanted a 2-year contract, which
Oh.
would give him time to get Rena up to speed. I mean, really, I had Seth picked first, and after I sat and contemplated, because you can't use age at all in deciding on it's illegal. So I don't know.
We just don't tell people that.
That disqualified him. It was his unwillingness to handle something and leaving it to his juniors in something that was obviously such a dedicated position. That was where he got disqualified for me.
Yep.
Kitty, stop it.
All right. Next up is Sonia Mitha, who is working at the small firm, really wanted to work from home, had a small family to take care of, but she was rated as an up-and-comer and doing really well with her clients, especially international clients. How'd you all feel about her?
So I actually had a really interesting take on her, and something I wish they had mentioned, and I don't know if this would have been an EEO violation for them to have mentioned, but they didn't mention whether or not there was a father in the home for those 2 children.
Yeah.
And if there were, I would have been highly more likely to choose her because I wouldn't feel like she was the only person who was going to get called when the kids were sick at school.
Mm-hmm. I thought like her pros were definitely
strong.
She had that strong. Yeah, she's strong. She knew what she was doing, and she could potentially be able to take on the bigger client base. But I just think her family life would have held her back there, which is, like, I guess it's not a terrible thing to say. I just feel like that's a big downside right there. That she wouldn't be able.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. I'm rambling.
My feeling with her is that she would do a great job working alone.
Yeah.
But
that's not the company.
That's not the job, right? That's not the company atmosphere.
Yeah, I think
questions regarding her ability to telecommute and her possibly limited willingness to travel outweigh her potential for superstar status, as they are not conducive to building the relationships necessary to meet the requirements of this position, both within the company outside of it. That was my final sentence on her.
Yeah, and I think asking for flexibility in the first interview, if a candidate would ask me for flexibility in the first interview without knowing about him or about her, it would be a bad indicator about his work, because yeah, for sure she has two kids, right? But she has to gain my trust first, and after ask for that flexibility.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So no one picked her, right? She's another no votes.
Yeah, she's a no vote for me.
Okay, next up, Seth Horkham, who was not on the what's his face's list of people to be hired, but he seemed really good, and he had someone that actually sought the company out to put his name out there, which I thought was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, but I would have called my recruiter and said, why didn't you choose this guy? And if he said, I just didn't know he was looking or something like that, no big deal. But if he had a good reason for saying this guy is not who you want, that would have been nice to know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I feel like as a company, just straight up, RSH should not have relied so much on one recruiter. I know they're a little apprehensive, but I feel like just going in one direction was not the right choice for hiring somebody.
I think when you get into the top tier of some of these big companies like that, though, it's probably far more common to rely on one company than multiple. I would guess. That's just my own, like, you have a niche, and you know these guys know every analyst in the area versus somebody who you have to vet and make sure they're seasoned. And he had just had his guy. I'd really assume that was something that's really common when you're talking about this type of business.
Yeah. I imagine after this, maybe he would look at Seth's recruiter, see if that's a potential avenue. Anyways, we're talking about Seth. We're not talking about the recruitment here. I actually had picked Seth. I thought he was really good. He had a lot of enthusiasm. Everybody at the company seemed to like him. He got glowing reviews. I did notice one of the big problems that was listed that was actually in the report itself was how he seemed too eager to please people, and that kind of drove his attention into too many directions at once. What are you guys' thoughts on Seth?
About Seth, I think I like that he has a lot of experience. It looks like he have experience as David, but that guy is not older as him. He also is he also knows about the company. He has I don't know if study is the appropriate word, but when he called Stephen, he knew about the company, and he knew that there was a vacancy, and a position that need to be filled. And he was really interested in create like a new and a good reputation over there. He was willing to work. What I don't like about him, or what I think it is a weakness if we think as members of the church, is that he got divorced because he was so focused on the work, on his job, and he was working long time of hours. And yeah, it has given him like the reputation he has. But I think as a person, he probably wouldn't feel like successful.
I actually have to admit that being in this particular field, him not being married is a blessing. I'm not kidding. There are certain jobs you just can't be married and have a family for. I mean, they frown upon it in flight school for like the fighter pilots. It's better in certain fields to not have any liability, to not have anybody expecting you at night because you're working 17 to 20 hours a day. I mean, it's just kind of, you have to expect that, which is one of the reasons a couple of people were disqualified. He was actually my second pick, Seth was. So I still kind of fall back on why didn't the staffing agency know that he was looking?
That was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one thing I'm supposed to share with you guys right now is
not discuss Rena again.
I'm not supposed to discuss her until later on in the discussion. She actually comes later. Yeah, she's bullet point 5. We're on bullet point 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry. Okay, so I'm supposed to share this. I just posted it to the Facebook chat, which, there we go. Okay, so these are the salaries that each person
I saw that.
wants at RHS and what they're currently making, as well as a multiplier over what they're currently paying Rena. And so being able to look at their salaries, which we can see David, who is our well-seasoned guy, he's going to be paid 5 times more than Rena. Gerald, jerk, 4 times more. Seth 3 times. Sonia 2 times. And then Rena wouldn't even get a raise, strangely enough. I feel like if she's going to actually move into that position, she should get a raise. But looking at how much each of these people are expecting...
that might actually be a raise from what she's making as a junior, because remember, she's already been a senior and she's been a stopgap for a while.
Okay, true. So looking at the salaries, would you change your mind about who you would hire and why? Would you change your mind?
No, that didn't change anything for me.
Yeah, this didn't really change anything for me either. I feel like Seth would still be the proper choice at $1 million, even if it is going to be more expensive.
Yeah, it is the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the same with me. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. You're saying something. Okay. Well, in that case, if it hasn't actually changed anybody's mind, we actually get to Rena. Should Steven have given Rena a permanent offer, or should he be actually hired outside of the company? So I guess, what are the pros and cons of Rena, and why should we pick her over anyone else? This is all you, Beth. This is your vote.
I'm just going to read it because I shouldn't say I loved Rena, but I had a really good reason for choosing her. So Rena Shea is a bright young junior analyst that has been placed as a stopgap for the position of senior analyst. Reviews suggest that she is competent, but she could be more assertive in her presentations. There are a number of reasons why Miss Shea should keep this position. To begin with, as a junior analyst to the man who was a superstar, she would understand the industry and know more of what is expected of her. The training from somebody considered the best gives her an enormous advantage over other candidates. Without question, hiring an employee within a business is not only a morale booster for the individuals and the other teams. According to the article, The Risky Business of Hiring Stars, odds are the superstars you eagerly and expensively recruit will shine much less brightly for you than for their previous employers. I read that for you already. With the idea in mind that an outside employee could and likely would decrease their performance, solidifying a current employee's position as senior analyst would boost her confidence and could very well be the trigger she needs to become a superstar within the industry. It is possible she would need performance analysis and a constructive criticism, but it is my opinion that this would take about as much effort as the transition of an outside new hire into the same position. I honestly think she'll jump up once that confidence is placed in her that she could do it. I think she'll shine. Because right now she's got somebody constantly analyzing everything she's doing because she's not the real position, you know. And I think that'll change once she's hired permanently.
I think they definitely could have allowed her to see how they handled that upcoming project they had. Understand it could be a huge risk, but that would also show them whether keeping Rena is appropriate or not. I don't know. Any other thoughts from the rest of y'all?
I didn't change my mind. I think this position need to be filled with someone with that great reputation, and I think Ina is a good option, but it will take time to Rena to have such reputation is required to the position.
What's next?
All right. So the next question is going back even farther. Should Steven have even let Peter go, or should he have made Peter an offer to keep him on?
Oh my gosh. I can't help but think he made the right choice. Once somebody wants to leave, it's just a matter of time.
Right.
I
don't care how much money you offer him. Somebody's going to offer him more eventually, and he's just going to leave.
Yeah.
Could definitely lead to a slippery slope, especially it's just like, oh, I know I'm worth this much to you. How much? Like,
I'm worth now.
Yeah. All right, and going on to Steven then, should Steven have talked with the recruiter to ask about Seth? Because he didn't even go to his regular recruiter to be all like, how come you didn't know about Seth? What's going on? Seems like a huge mistake on Steven's part. We kind of touched on this earlier.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm gonna go with the big fat yes. He should have checked out on Seth there.
That was kind of weird. He's just kind of accepted Seth's recruiter instead of going and asking his recruiter anything about Seth.
Yeah, he really hasn't vetted her or anything. the other guy's proven himself. But I think at this point, what's done is done.
Mhm.
You know, he's already included the guy on his list. So, do we know who he ended up hiring?
No, we actually don't get that. So
That's so
it's all
unfortunate.
just our
I'm so
votes.
curious.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you guys think that performance at one company equates to the same kind of performance at a different company?
No.
All right. What are your thoughts on why that wouldn't be?
The team that you work with plays a big role on how productive you are, how well you like your job, how much effort you're willing to put into it. So I think the dynamics and the office politics at different places will cause a candidate, an employee to act differently or do things different.
Actually, just an example from my own life. I used to work at Cafe Rio, and that was super hard. I was the kitchen manager there. Oh man, they did not treat me very good at all. It was terrible, but I did my best. And we got really good reviews. And then my general manager actually got hired somewhere else, and he pulled me along with him. And the new place we were working at, we actually got hired.
Supposed to be that I'm gonna laugh.
No, it was a burger joint. So he pulled me over as a kitchen manager at his burger joint, and our metrics went even higher just because the corporate policies and the corporate, what am I trying to say here? Just the corporate feel was much more lax and
The atmosphere.
yeah, there we go. So we were able to excel better doing the same work, if not a little bit less work, because we could goof off a little bit more. But it's just interesting how a lot of how people can operate is not always dependent on them, but also dependent on the external forces around them, like we've talked about.
So I think it's possible that a couple of the other candidates would have performed equally or even possibly better.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to wonder, so there was, in my HR class I took a couple of semesters ago, one of the things they found that I found really interesting was that a lot of the time when somebody is paid more, their production goes down. And so they're giving these enormous raises to these guys over, and I could see production going down in what feels like a less competitive team focus. But if you are, for instance, that jerky negative guy, you're going to go in there and be like, oh, this is chill. I can just relax. I don't have to do as much. I could totally see him doing that because he doesn't have that competition right beside him constantly. And he seems like the kind of guy that would need to.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's really 50-50 shot, which is part of the dilemma of choosing somebody other than Rena is you don't know. You could offer these people more money and their production goes down, or you could offer them more money and their production goes up because they like the team environment, that they didn't have their previous job. And with Rena, she really can't go anywhere but up because she has bricks on top of her head right now.
Mm-hmm.
And she may not go and become a superstar, but she could easily go on the II ratings.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Actually, a good segue into our next section, which I just posted the thing. It's the general human capital and what that's all about. How some people are very portable. You're able to take them from one company to the next, and they don't really seem to miss a beat, whereas others are very company specific. You can't move them between companies and expect them to continue to be the high performers that they actually are. We had to look at this before we started our case study, but what did you guys think about this human capital and transferability chart?
It's kind of interesting.
Up at the top, we have general human capital, people that they're very portable. They know the challenges. They can be transferred between different environments. We have strategic human capital. They know certain specific skills, but those skills can be transferred across many different companies. Industry is someone that knows specific skills that are kind of general to a specific area. Not all businesses relationship is
Well, I think industry human capital is perhaps why you can't just go get any analyst. You had to be very specific about the type of analyst that was coming in. Not that they needed to be a part of that particular field, but they needed to be in a similar field that was like you technically the same in the way that they had to analyze the companies and stocks.
Yeah.
I don't feel like for this case they would want that an industry human capital choice, because someone more general wouldn't really know enough to be put in a position that high.
Yeah.
Something farther down, those skills don't really translate company to company. So cool. Are there any last comments? Anything you guys want to throw out there about the case or about what you've learned this week, hiring people, looking at pros and cons? I can't convince me. I'm still Team Seth. All right. Well, thanks everyone for meeting tonight and for your participation. And I guess we'll all see each other next week.
Sounds good. Okay,
Yeah.
next week, Friday, 8 p.m. Well, I'm sorry, it's 7 p.m. for you guys. 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Okay, I
7
can do
p.m.
that. I just had to quit my job so I could devote more time to school and my family. So I have lots of free time now. So
Hey, that's good.
I'll be
I
there.
don't, which is why I actually had to like break down early tonight from our show so I could be here in time.
Well, sorry about that.
Okay. I wasn't feeling super hot. My morning sickness is kind of like smack, smack, smack. So it was a good excuse.
Yeah.
Not fun.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm in charge next week.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I will plan on Friday, 7
Kristen,
p.m.
Do you want me to set up the Hangouts for next week?
Sure.
Okay. Because I'm just
Yeah.
gonna save this. I'm actually gonna set up an event for next week and
Okay.
send the link on Facebook, and then we can all just click on it.
We got it. Perfect. That will work great.
All right.
All right. Thanks.
Good
See
night,
y'all in a week.